Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about the midpoint formula. Midpoint formula is pretty much similar to the section formula for internal division. I have already created a video and I'm going to provide the link in the description. So feel free to watch that video. There I have explained how to derive the formula for internal division. And here I'm going to use the same section formula for the internal division to derive the midpoint formula. So here what we have to derive? Well, we have been told that we have a line segment AB. The coordinates of the points A and B, the coordinates have been provided, and we have to find the coordinates of the point P which actually bisects this line segment, meaning it equally divides the line segment into two parts, right? So that means the length of AP will be equal to the length of PB, right? So here on the right hand side I have noted that if the length of AP is m times k units, then length of BP will also be m times k units, so that the ratio will be 1:1, and that is exactly what is called the midpoint formula. Now if you think about it, point P is actually supposed to be in the middle of this line segment between A and B, right? So this is again an internal division. It is an internal section, it's not an external section. So we are going to use the internal division formula, right? So let me write down first. So the coordinates of the point P will be like this. This is according to the section formula for internal division. Now using this formula, we are going to now derive the coordinates of point P. So in this case, what will happen? Well, if you think about it, our value of this m and n, in this case, what is m? M is actually, you can think of it that m is 1 and n is also 1. I am writing it right there. Just below that 1:1, I have indicated that this 1:1 is actually the m:n for the internal section formula, right? So here, in place of m and n, I am going to use the value 1 because the point P actually equally divides this line segment into two pieces, right? So P is exactly in the middle. That means m and n, they will be 1:1. I mean m:n will be 1:1, right? So now let's put the value of m and n. So for x, what do we get then? Well, let me write it here. So x is going to look like this. So x will be equal to, now for m, wherever we have m, I am going to write 1 times x sub 2 plus, again wherever I have n, I am again going to write 1 because in this case m and n, their value is 1, right? So they are in 1:1 ratio. So for n also we can use 1 times x sub 1 and divided by m plus n, which is 1 plus 1. So this will be equal to x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2. So from here we can say, okay, therefore x is equal to x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, and we have calculated the value of x, and this is going to be one part of the midpoint formula. So this is the x part of the midpoint formula, and now I'm going to calculate the value of y. So it will be again similar, exact similar process. So for y, let me write it over here. Y is equal to m times y sub 2 plus n times y sub 1 whole divided by m plus n, and from here what we can say, okay, from here wherever we have m, I'm going to use 1, so it would be 1 times y sub 2 plus, again in place of n also I'm going to use 1, so 1 times y sub 1 whole divided by m plus n, that will be 1 plus 1. So this is going to be equal to y sub 1 plus y sub 2 whole divided by 2. So this is the formula for y. So we can say that y is equal to y sub 1 plus y sub 2 whole divided by 2, and that is the second formula for the midpoint theorem, right? And this is for the y part. So now what are the coordinates of P? We can write it down here. So we can say, okay, then the coordinates of P going to look like this. It would be x sub 1 plus x sub 2 whole divided by 2. That is the x coordinate, and for the y coordinate it would be y sub 1 plus y sub 2 whole divided by 2, and that's the y coordinate. So we have been able to calculate the coordinates of the point P which equally divides the line segment between A and B. And anytime you are provided with the coordinates of A and B and you are asked to find out the coordinates of the midpoint, you can easily use this formula, right? You just simply substitute the values of x sub 1 and x sub 2 and also y sub 1 and y sub 2 to find the two coordinates, right? And sometimes, you may be given the coordinates of the point A and point P and you will be asked to find the coordinates of point B. That is also possible. As long as you are provided with two sets of information out of the three sets, then you should be able to find the information about the other set. So let's take an example. So suppose, let's say we have been given, this is an example right here. So let's say suppose the coordinates of A is actually, let's say 2, 3. right? That's the coordinates of A. And then point B, the coordinates of point B, let's assume this is 10, 11, right? I'm just taking some arbitrary numbers. And now we have to find the coordinates of the midpoint. So find the coordinates of midpoint. Let's assume that P. So what are the coordinates of P? So I'm putting a question mark here, right? What is the x coordinate of P and y coordinate of P when P is the midpoint for the line segment AB? That means it's the midpoint between A and B. So we're going to use the midpoint formula here. So let's try to solve it. Well, what information have we been provided with? Well, we have been provided with, here is our x sub 1 and y sub 1 right here. So x sub 1 and y sub 1, and similarly we have x sub 2 and y sub 2 right here. And then if we use this midpoint formula, then the coordinates of P will be like this. So the x coordinate of P will be x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, and that will be equal to, what is our x sub 1, which is 2, and then what is x sub 2, that is 10. So divided by 2, that is actually 12 divided by 2, and that is 6. Right? So that's the x coordinate of the midpoint. And similarly, what would be the y coordinates? Well, y coordinates would be y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all divided by 2. And in this case, what is y sub 1? That is 3 plus what is y sub 2? That is 11 all divided by 2. That is actually 14 divided by 2, and that is equal to 7. So we have found the coordinates of the midpoint. So we can say that the coordinates of the midpoint P would be like this. It would be 6, 7. And that's our answer. I hope everything made sense so far. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.